Maryborough is famous for its rich architectural history. We have many of Queensland's most significant historical buildings here in the CBD. This architectural heritage documents our past and provides a guiding light to the future. Here at 311 Kent Street, this building has served our CBD so well over the decades, and it will into the future as a fantastic space for creative arts.
I was the last managing director of Gatakers Proprietary Limited. Gatakers Proprietary Limited finished up being the last wholesaler in the Maryborough area. This particular building is Maryborough's oldest commercial building. And I mean, there are a lot of old buildings in this particular area because Maryborough was founded on the river, and so warehouses, hotels and so on were built close to this area. And this building was constructed by Netterfield and Palmer. Our firm took it over. The firm went through a number of changes. When Graham retired, it became Gataker and Son. And then also during the Depression, about the time when we moved here, it became Gatakers Proprietary Limited. And but it continued, and it had as its basis was its sole distribution rights for Castlemaine Perkins beer products. And we bottled Bundaberg rum from the day Bundaberg rum became a little bit famous, right through until '86. And at various times we bottled wine, and we sold bulk wine in, we'd buy in hogsheads or 44-gallon drums in those days. The building itself didn't undertake a lot of changes over the years, hence you've still got the original front doors. The floor lasted from the time of construction through to about 55, and then it was, because it's so close to the ground, was rotting, and they had to take it out. And because of the closeness to the floor, we were advised not to use timber again and cemented the floor. The safe here behind us was put in the 50s when we did the floor, and we kept the small safes as well inside that safe, but fortunately we never had a fire or anything to necessitate that.
Oh, well, I have a sentimental connection with a lot of old buildings in Maryborough, and it's just great to have this refurbished and ready to go as an activity centre, a creative space. So, yeah, initially the first thing that struck me about Gatakers is that it was a historic building, and it appeared in old photographs, and as I read about the history of Maryborough and the role that the warehouses played, I realised how important this was. So rather than being a museum, it's going to be a working space, a creative space, and a meeting place for people to come and carry out creative activities. And as an artist, having participated in a number of different workshops, but particularly printmaking, I'm really looking forward to that opportunity to work in the refurbished building. To bring this historic building up to the standards required in the 21st century requires an enormous investment, but it's an investment that's going to pay off, I think, in terms of what the building can offer the community as a creative space and a meeting space and a display space. One of the characteristics of the building is its heritage aspects, like the cast iron pillars and the vestiges of the old staircase that are retained. So it carries a history with it. And when people come into the building, there's an atmosphere here, an atmosphere of value, an atmosphere of calmness, an atmosphere that encourages people to interact and to create. But we've managed to acquire an Albion press from the 19th century, and that's an amazing historic artefact. It's also in excellent working condition. Its previous owner has looked after it very carefully, and we are going to be able to use it so people can come into a 19th century building with all the modern facilities and use a 19th century printing press. So it's more than just nostalgia, it's an understanding of how things used to work back in the day.
So I've been practicing in Maryborough now 32 years, and because of the number of heritage buildings in the town and the amount of work I've done on them, I'm now accepted as a heritage architect by the heritage authorities. And it's always a great joy to see the buildings come to some kind of new use and new life. Otherwise, they will just moulder away. It's really thanks to owners such as the council who find new purposes for the buildings that they can be saved. The largest challenge in working with old buildings is finding the balance between keeping the heritage authorities happy and actually passing modern certification. Actually, this staircase I'm standing on is a really good example of that. The original stair was dilapidated in part and condemned, but it also didn't comply with any of the modern regulations. It's really, really steep, very narrow, and didn't have any kind of compliant handrails and so forth. But we have to keep it, being that we need to keep the majority of the original fabric. So this staircase is a good example of the kind of stairs that were built, and it is part of the heritage significance of this building. If you look closely, there's still got big nails sticking out of it that have been there for a very, very long time. So we had to find a way to keep everyone happy and decided to try and fly a new staircase over the top and to make it in steel so that it's obviously new. While the solution for the stairs was to introduce a new stair that looks modern so that we can tell the difference between the old and the new, often we need to very closely match old materials and make the changes seamless. So one good example of that is on the upper level here, the timber floorboards were on 2 levels. The beautiful narrow hardwood boards were only over about 2/3 of the floor. Have a close look at them. They're showing the beauty of their age. We didn't polish them back. It's seamless where the new boards have been placed because we were able to source very, very closely matching boards. Other challenges with this building were repainting. Where the building's already been painted, we were allowed to paint, but parts of it, particularly the part here underneath the stair, has never been painted, so we're not allowed to paint it. So it's got the original finish.
The building is a great showcase on what can be done with historic buildings, how we can save these buildings and restore them and repurpose them. So this building will now serve a new purpose going forward for creative arts here in Maryborough.